Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Understanding the true financial health of a massive, multi-million dollar corporation, it often just comes down to tracking exactly how fast a single dollar bill travels through its system. It's all driven by this absolutely crucial concept called the working capital cycle. And what's wild is that the mechanics of this cycle apply to literally everything, from a kid's neighborhood sidewalk hustle all the way to the glittering, high-stakes world of diamonds.
To really wrap our heads around this, I want you to think back for a second. Have you ever run a simple childhood business, like, say, a lemonade stand? Keep that exact image in your mind, because, believe it or not, the core financial mechanics you used on your front lawn are the exact same mechanics equity analysts use in high finance to evaluate major companies. Seriously, it all comes down to the flow of your cash. Just think about the timeline of that lemonade stand. First, you've got to take your own hard-earned pocket money and spend it to buy lemons and sugar, right? Boom, your cash is out the door. Then, you squeeze those lemons, mix up the ingredients, and you just sit there behind your little table waiting for thirsty customers. Finally, someone buys a cup and you collect their coins. Your cash has finally made its way back to you.
Well, that entire loop, from the very second you spend your coins on ingredients to the exact moment you get those coins back from a happy customer, that is what we call the working capital cycle. In finance terms, it's the operational timeline required to convert your net current assets back into liquid cash. But here is the golden rule, the real secret sauce. The faster that loop spins, the quicker you get your cash back. A super fast cycle means you have high liquidity, which, in our lemonade example, means you don't have to go begging your parents for a loan just to keep the stand open.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how Wall Street analysts take that simple lemonade stand loop and translate it into an exact mathematical formula. For an equity research analyst, this equation is a total foundational metric. It basically tells them a company's asset productivity and cash generation velocity, which is just a fancy way of saying it measures the net time in days that capital stays tied up in daily operations. So let's deconstruct the math a bit. Capital gets either tied up or freed up across three distinct daily operations: inventory days, debtor days, and payable days. First up, inventory days. These actually add to your cycle time. This is the average time your raw materials and finished products are just sitting around waiting to be sold. Think about the jewelry industry for a second. This is the time raw gold and expensive diamonds spend sitting in factories, being crafted, or just sitting under glass in a showroom before a customer finally says they'll take it. The longer they sit there, the longer your cash is literally trapped in physical objects. Second, we have debtor days. Now, just because you made a sale doesn't mean you actually have a cash in your hand yet, right? Debtor days measure the average time you spend waiting for your customers to actually pay you after the sale is complete. This phase is incredibly vital for B2B, business-to-business suppliers who regularly extend credit to retailers and wholesalers. I mean, if you give a client 30 days to pay, well, that is 30 more days your cash is totally unavailable to you. And finally, we have payable days. Now, this one actually subtracts from your cycle, which works entirely in your favor. This metric tracks how long you take to pay your own suppliers for raw materials. If you can manage to delay paying your suppliers for a few weeks while you make and sell your product, that acts as an incredible source of interest-free trade leverage. It essentially shrinks your net cash unavailability window. Okay, so watch how this pressure builds when we shift gears from cheap, fast-moving consumer goods like milk and bread to the high-stakes jewelry industry. This is a sector notorious for incredibly slow-moving capital blocks. You see, the gems and jewelry industry has an unusually long working capital cycle compared to almost all other consumer retail categories. Unlike FMCG that just flies off the shelves, gold and diamond inventories represent massive, heavy blocks of capital that move very, very slowly. A huge driver of this high capital intensity is the absolute need for deep SKU portfolios. SKU stands for stock keeping unit, basically the variety of inventory you hold. Jewelry showrooms have to maintain vast design varieties to appeal to super fragmented regional tastes or very specific bridal trends. And what does that mean? It means massive amounts of capital are essentially locked up in physical inventory, just sitting there on display shelves for months at a time, waiting for that one perfect buyer to walk in. So to fund this massive cash gap between buying raw materials and finally making a sale, jewelers have to get pretty creative with specialized financing. Highly rated, organized retailers will often bypass those huge upfront capital needs by securing gold metal loans. It's essentially taking gold on lease from bullion banks. Pretty clever, right? Other players, well, they rely on raising fresh capital through IPOs. For example, newly listed companies like PNGS Reva and Shringar directed a significant chunk of their IPO proceeds specifically to fund the working capital they desperately needed for their regional expansions.
Which brings us to a really crucial point. Tracking this cycle, it's basically a financial detective's early warning signal. For analysts, watching the trajectory of the working capital cycle is a highly effective way to spot operational stress way before it ever shows up on the profit and loss statement. And here is the ultimate red flag: a lengthening working capital cycle occurring right alongside strong reported revenue growth. Think about it. If sales are supposedly up, but the cycle is getting longer and longer, yeah, that means there is hidden trouble brewing beneath the surface. You can actually see this stress signal perfectly illustrated by B2B manufacturer Shringar House of Mangalsutra. During their FY26 reporting period, their debtor days, remember that's the time they waited to get paid by their clients, it suddenly spiked. In FY25, it was sitting at about 26.9 days, but then in FY26, it shot all the way up to 38.3 days. And that single collection delay had a pretty devastating ripple effect. It simultaneously pushed their overall working capital cycle from an already high 48.8 days all the way to a massive 79 days. I mean, really think about that for a second. For nearly 80 days, their capital was completely tied up in that operational loop, totally unable to be used for anything else. Now, for equity analysts, a sudden elongation like this usually sets off alarm bells. It typically signals one of two major operational issues: channel stuffing or looser credit terms. Let's break those down. The first risk is channel stuffing. This happens when a manufacturer aggressively pushes excess, unsold inventory onto their retail partners. You might be wondering, why on earth would they do this? Well, to artificially inflate their reported revenue on the P&L statement. It makes their sales look fantastic on paper. But because the retailers haven't actually sold the goods to final customers yet, they end up taking much, much longer to pay the manufacturer back. And that is exactly what causes those debtor days to spike. The second big risk is looser credit terms. Sometimes, in a somewhat desperate bid to secure high sales volume, a manufacturer might extend dangerously loose, unbacked payment terms to their corporate retail accounts. And sure, you get the sale in the moment, but you are heavily straining your own cash flows and massively elevating your risk of default if those clients ultimately can't pay you back. So whether you're analyzing a neighborhood lemonade stand or a sprawling multi-million-dollar jewelry empire, the speed of cash is the true heartbeat of the business. Getting those debtor days back down to historical averages is so often the key to releasing trapped cash flow and actually funding future growth. Which leaves us with this final thought to wrap up our explainer today. The next time you see a company reporting massive revenue growth, don't just blindly cheer for the top line. Take a closer look and ask yourself, what trapped cash is hiding beneath the surface, slowly choking their cycle?